Recording is on.
All right. Good afternoon once again, everyone, and welcome to today's section. I trust we're doing fine.
Good morning, ma. Yes, ma.
Good morning, Thursday. Thanks for that
Yeah,
confirmation that everyone can hear
good
me.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, Dean. That's Martha,
I'm
right?
fine, thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Good to have you on the call. Welcome to today's section. Okay. So, in our last class, we talked about I gave an assignment. Yeah, I remember. So I believe we've all done the assignment. So please, let's do well to drop the assignment so that we can look at it later. I think we should start with the topic first, then we can get to look at the assignments later. So yeah, we talked about product metrics and analysis, which we all understand what metrics are and what product analysis is, and how we can use all of this to make informed business decision in our product life cycle and when we are iterating improvement. So yeah, today we have a new topic. I would start sharing my screen. Okay. Martha, you want to say something?
Yes, ma, please. I would want to draw you back a little before you start today's class.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I was going through the slides on feature prioritization and backlog, but I was just confused. I wasn't in class when you took it, so I don't know if you can just give me a summary of was all about, so at least I will follow up very well when I revisit the slide again.
You mean future prioritization?
Yes, and backlogs.
Oh, okay. Did you listen to the recording?
No, I haven't.
If you had listened to the recording, you would have understood.
I just went to the slide.
You're looking for shortcuts. Okay. Interesting.
It's just a summary. If you can just summarize what it's all about, at least that will give me a better hint. Hearing your voice sticks better.
Which is available in the audio. Anyways, that's fine. So when we talked about
Okay.
future prioritization, first of all, we have backlogs, and backlogs will be what will lead us to prioritization. So backlogs are list of items. Now, from the inception, that's from when you're getting your product ideas to when you're writing them down, you have a lot of features you want your product or your applications, depending on whatever it is that you want to build, to have. So you have a lot of them, so you write out all of these. That's where you have your idea book. You write out all of these, and from there, you now streamline it to the important ones. That okay, what exactly? Some ideas might not be useful at that point in time. That you don't need this. So, but when you are certain of okay, these are all the features that, for instance, now a fintech application to send money. These are all the features that it should have. So you list out that features. Now that features now that you're listing is you're putting them in your products backlog. So products backlogs are where you have a list of items, features that you want your engineers to work on. And it's normally used in the agile environment. So you have features that you want them to work on, but if they are not working on everything at this point in time. So now backlog shows you every future, even the one you want to do in the next 2 years, everything is there. Now prioritization now comes in when you're now like, okay, this I have 50 backlogs. I have 50 items on my backlog. So now how do I prioritize? Now you now start prioritizing from how it should go. For instance, you want to build a fintech app, the first one should be sign up, from sign up to login to forget password to the dashboard to the core fintech products, which is when you which I talked about, like when you're using your North Star metric to measure. That's the core product which is sending money. So you do all of this according to the way you want this to be carried out according to the order of importance. You have a list of all the features now. Now, it is not enough that you've prioritized it. Now, a lay person looking at your, depending on the tool that you are using, for instance, Jira, looking at your product prioritization, should be able to your product backlogs, for instance, I should be able to see that, oh, this is what you are doing, and once you are done with this, you're moving on to this. Like, it should be in that order that you want your product, your futures to be worked on. So when you prioritize, then you now go to your sprints. When you're using Scrum now, sprints are, okay, you want to work on a, you want your engineers to work on a particular feature now, or you want to keep track of their tasks here. So sprints are normally from 1 week to 4 weeks. That's week four. So depending on your organization, so you can now say, oh, you want to run a sprint of 2 weeks, for instance. The standard sprint is usually 2 weeks. So you want to run a 2 week sprint. So in that sprint now, you now, from your product backlog that you have prioritized, you now pick items. You pick a log of items that, oh, okay, for this particular sprint, because this sprint is 4 weeks, sorry, this sprint is 2 weeks now. What can my engineer consume in 2 weeks? What are they able to do in that 2 weeks? So it can be just, okay, sign up and log in. So you put it in your sprint. So that's your sprint one. And when you are done with your sprint one, you end your sprint, you end with your sprint retrospective, then you start again with planning, then you go back to your backlog. Now, in your backlog now, the next thing will be forget password. According to the way you have prioritized it, that's the same way you now move it to the sprint, except there are needs. Maybe, okay, you've tested or you've pushed that particular fix to do and have a better testing, and something changes, there needs to be a modification or improvement. That's when that will now affect the scope of your sprint. So because you said your next thing should be forget password, you now notice that the login page is showing error. So that's a fix. That's a bug that needs to be fixed. Then you now put it in your sprint. But your products backlogs remains the same because you have prioritized them. So it's the order of importance that you want your product features to be. I don't know if that makes sense to you. If I'm able to summarize it, Martha.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. So invariably, I could say that backlogs are like cat. Arrange it in order of priority before you start work, right?
Correct. So there are future prioritization. There are
All
features
right.
that you
Thank
need
you
to
so
do.
much.
Yeah. All right. Okay, team, I'll be sharing my screen.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much, ma. I appreciate.
You're welcome. A moment, please. All right, so today we'll be talking about user stories and acceptance criteria. So I've touched based on these, like in some of our classes, or not most of our classes. I've talked about, oh, user stories. Oh, these are acceptance criteria. So it's just basically we just like getting an insight of what it is. So yeah, but today we're going to be looking like we're going to be having an in-depth of what user stories are and what are acceptance criteria. So from this, it will take us to how we can now write our product requirement documentation because we need all of these. And in one way or another, in all of these assignments that we've done, we've been able to also write our own user stories. So yes, I believe that everyone on this call are now familiar with user stories, if not acceptance criteria. We can say we are not familiar with acceptance criteria, but user story, yeah. Or am I wrong? Prove me wrong, oh, if we are not familiar with user stories on this call, then so that I know where to start from. Are we all saying we are familiar with user stories now? No one is saying anything.
I'm sorry, ma, I had to quickly do something. No, ma, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, that's fine, no problem. We'll just okay. I believe, please, oh, I don't know if it's just me. Can we all see that this meeting is being recorded? Because I'm doing something like failed to record here. Can we confirm that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me go back to the slide. Now we are not going to assume that we are familiar with user stories. Let's do like we are just hearing user stories for the first time. User stories and acceptance criteria. So there are two different things, but one helps another. First of all, we'll be talking about user stories, but if we're able to wrap everything up in this class, it's going to be fine. And if not, we can continue in our next class. So user stories, as look at the name, user. Who are the users? Customers. Customers of our products. We are product managers, we are product leaders. What are we trying to do? We are building products. We are not building products for ourselves, we are building it for the users. So users are customers now. Now stories, like we all know, like you're trying to describe something. So user story is not like the customer story. Like I always say that we should put ourselves in the shoes of the users. Like there should be this empathy when it comes to building. We're not building for ourselves, we are building for the customers, the users of the products. So now the user story now is you telling, putting yourself in the shoes of the users and telling a story around it. An acceptance criteria, like okay, what makes this acceptance? What is the definition of done? What is your criteria to say that this particular thing is done? That's just a literary meaning to the topic of today. User stories and acceptance criteria. But come along with me, let's understand user story first. And from there, we can now move on to acceptance criteria. So, yeah, these are the objectives of the class. We should be able to explain what user story is in simple terms. I try as much as possible to break this down rather than using complex words. I want us to understand it like as beginners, like something that we can always relate with. Like we can use our own literary terms to understand. Then yeah, we've been writing user stories before, but we should also be able to now perfect the way we write our user stories now, and also understand what acceptance criteria is and the basic acceptance criteria for user stories. And also we should also be able to see things from the user's point of view. So what is user story again, I asked? A user story, it's a brief, simple description of a feature from the end user's viewpoint, focusing on the value it provides. Now, when you hear story, we're not saying that you should go and write a page full of what's it called? Story, because you want to write a user story. Brief. That's one of the important things that you should note when it comes to product user story. It's usually brief. You cannot write a user story and you'll be writing like 10 lines of user story. What exactly are you trying to like pass across? Even the engineers will be tired and bored of reading it. Like you want to write a user story, you write like 10 or 20 lines of user story. No, your user story should be very, very, very brief. They are very simple, brief statements. So simple description, it's describe, it should give you a very simple description of what your future is. So it's a brief simple description of a future. I want to do the sign up feature. Give me a brief description of that sign up feature from the user's perspective that you're trying to work on. So it's usually from the end user's viewpoint. Always note this. It's usually from the end user viewpoint. It's usually from the end user, whether you are a B2C, you're working in a B2C company or a B2B company. It's usually from the end user's perspective. You're building for businesses, depending on what you're building. If you're building a web application, the admin side, you're putting yourself in the user. Okay, I'm the admin. I'm trying to work on this. I'm trying to sign up as a cashier. I'm trying to sign up as this. You're putting yourself in the shoes of the user. You're building for their customers, you're building mobile application, you're also putting yourself in that end user's perspective, that end user viewpoint. So we go again. It's a brief, simple description of a future from the end user's viewpoint, focusing on the value it provides. Now, your user story is not complete if it does zoom focus on the value. If it doesn't give value, yeah, that was why I was saying when some of us did our assignment and there were no reasons. I'll put it like reason why are you trying to do that? What do you get in return? Sign up. Why do I want to sign up to this platform? Why do I want to sign up to this application? What is the value that is giving the end user? So whenever product managers are writing their user stories, let's always have it at the back of our mind that it has to focus on the user. It has to be simple. Those are the keywords there. It has to be brief, simple, end user viewpoint, and also value. Brief, simple, end user's viewpoint, and the value. Those five things are very, very important. Your user stories as product managers should be very simple. You should see it from the user's perspective, that's the user's viewpoint, and also the value that this particular feature that you are trying to describe will give. So simply put, a user story is a short sentence that describe what a user wants and why they want it. That's the simple word. When you think of user story, think it as a short sentence. They did not say a long sentence. They did not say a short paragraph. They did not say a short, how will I put it now? It's usually a short sentence. Make it a short sentence to the point, straight to the point. You don't have to. We don't need you to start telling us story of how the user will come from this to this to that. No, user story doesn't entail all of that. So user story should be short sentence that describe what a user wants. Me as a user, what do I want? I want to log in. Why did I want to log in? Because I want to have access to the platform. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Always have it at the back of your mind that when you're writing your user stories, you're thinking of what does the user want and why does the user want it. Now, if you have these two things in mind, if you bear it in mind when you're writing your user story, it helps you to build features that add value to the customer. Imagine in your products backlog now, you have a particular feature because you have list of features. Then okay, you've created them, then you want to start writing user story for it. Then you now pick up one feature like what feature can we look at now? You now pick up a feature like dark mode. I think we've talked about dark mode in one of our sections. Okay, you want to have a dark mode feature. So when you now start thinking like, okay, what does the user want? User wants to put the application to a dark mode. Why does the user want to put it? Because some might have site issues or what's it called? You now start thinking this value, why the user wants to do this thing, is it even relevant at that point in time that you are building this product? Is it what is necessary? Is it what the user needs? How much value does this thing even add to the user? So user stories will help you to like have a rethink that are you sure this dark mode that I want to do now is really the right thing, looking at the value? Because you said you look at it, how does it sound in your hearing? I'm like, okay, I'm not sure. Let me do better, a more another feature that will add more value at that point in time to the user. So it helps you to shape your decision. So always note that user story focuses on this. The user, the user, which is very obvious, the user, end user, customer. Customer, you know, well, if we look at it in-depthly, there is difference between customer and user. How many of us agree with that? That there is difference between customer and user? Or do you believe that users and customers are the same thing? If you believe that users and customers are the same thing, let me hear.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is the same thing.
Yes, ma'am. Because I feel a user is someone that is actively using the product. Why for customer? Someone might be your customer but might not be using the app or the product. Like maybe for instance, a app. If I download a particular app, that means I don't know, maybe that means I'm a customer, but I'm not using the app. Maybe it means I'm not using it. So that's what I'm not really sure, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much, Teresa, for that. Another person.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, from oh, okay.
Go on, Martha. As you like to.
I thought someone wanted to say something. Okay, so I think the difference between the user and the customer, the customer is more like a long-term person, someone who uses the feature often or the product often, while users might just be one time or two times usage.
All right, thank you very much, Martha. Chika.
I feel like a customer is someone that pays for something, either a monetary form or gift, or for in exchange for something. But the user is using it without payment.
Hmm, interesting. All right, thank you very much, everyone. You've all spoken well. Now, when we look at customer, let me use a scenario for you, a product. Uh, Diaper now. All these diapers that we have, Pampers. A user is the baby. Oh. The baby is the one using the product. The customer is the mom or the father that is buying the products. So they are your customers. They are buying it, but they are not the end users. So that's one thing we should know. Let me use applications for instance now. Uh Tofumi is not on this call. Okay, Tofumi is on the call. Was it Tofumi that talked about the Flow app? And somebody, I think it was Lurios, that was saying that okay, somebody can download for their a guy can use the app as well, like download for their babe or download for their wife. So now they are the customers because they downloaded the app. They are not the direct users of the app. The end user now, who they are using that application for, it's their wives, their spouses. Another one, a typical example is how do I put it now? An application I use. Yes. So an HMO application I use. I have my how will I put this? I have my own HMO application I use. Now, so I now added my dad as a dependent under it. Now there's option for you to manage for the dependent, or the dependent manages for himself or herself. Now in scenario sef, You can download it on behalf of the, you can use it on, you might not even have an account with them or something, you can use it on behalf of the dependents, like you do all of that, but I'm not the user. When it's time for him to make use of it, he's the one using the services. What I'm doing is I'm managing the application for him, so I'm their own customers, but the end user, because I downloaded it now, I'm their customer, but the end user now is my dad. So that's how it works. So most times your customers can be your users. I can download the app use for myself, but not all the time are your customers also your users. You can have users and you can have customers. Customers are those that do it on behalf of the users. Maybe the users cannot directly do it by themselves. So the user assist, I mean the customer now assist in doing it for the user, just like baby, when you do baby things, baby food, you buy it on behalf of the user, just for the user to use. So I don't know, does that make sense? Is it clear to us now? Okay, okay. All right, thank you. All right, thanks, guys. Let's move on. Then the problem or need. So user stories focuses on the problem and the need, or the need of the person. What's the problem you're trying to solve here? Or what's the need? Then the value it brings to the user. Now we have five key components when it comes to user stories in an agile environment. We've talked about agile in a couple of our sections. Now, user stories must always have a user. That's very obvious. User, you cannot write a user story without a user. It has to have a user. User story captures what the user wants to achieve in a simple sentence. Yeah, this is also captured in our definition. Simple sentence. User story contain a qualifying value statement. So the value statement should be worth it. The value for doing that thing should be worth it. User stories should contain acceptance criteria. Now for this, acceptance criteria aids user story. I will be talking more on that when we get to acceptance criteria. User stories are small and simple. They are very short sentence, very simple, straight to the point. Now, what's the user stories formula now? The format for user story as a dash type of user. I want to dash do something so that that is it. Now, let's say, okay, there's an example here. As a user, I want to reset my password so that I can access my account if I forget my password. So you always start with as a user. Let whosoever is reading it, the stakeholders involved, your engineers, let them know that this is from the user's viewpoint. As a user, what do I want to do? I want to reset my password. Why do I need to reset my password? What is the value I get access to my account after I must have forgotten my password? That's the value. Look at another example. As a user or as a customer now, I want to see my account balance on the home screen so that I can track my money easily. This is talking to a fintech app, a banking app for sending money. So you want to see your balance so that you can be able to track your money easily. It's just like when you log into your banking app, on your dashboard, you're seeing your account balance so that you, whatever it is you want to do, imagine you want to send money to someone, but your account is empty. So it's giving you that landing page. You are landing to that page one after login to see that, oh, this is what you have, oh, so that it now drives whatever decision you want to do. Okay, you want to send money or you have to deposit more if you don't have enough funds. So that's the value. The value here is so that the person can track money easily. The user can track his or her money easily. That's the value that this is creating. That's the value that it's giving. What is the tax? The tax is, excuse me, the tax is he wants to check his account balance. So that's formula for user story. Always put as a user you want to do this so that you can get the value in return. So can one or two persons give us example of this? Give us an example of a user story for a future. Anyone? Who is helping us out? No one. We don't understand. Let me know if
I
you
understand, ma. I'm
talk over
thinking.
it
I
again.
understand.
Okay. So let's do an example.
Let me try, ma.
Okay, Martha.
Okay, so I want to talk on the bank app, how to generate receipt. So as a user, I want to have the generate receipt icon so as to be able to send to someone when I send money as a proof of payment, to avoid disclaimer and all that. I don't know if I made sense.
Yes, it makes sense. But you said you want to have the icon. What do you want to do with the icon? What you want to do is just you want to have the icon.
Okay, to be able to send a proof of payment to someone.
Okay. So now, thank you very
I
much for
don't
that.
know.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Martha. So when it comes to user
thank you.
stories now, you don't need to tell them the future because when you're writing your PRD now, product requirement documentation, you have a column for the future, and under each column, you now have the user story for that feature. So the feature is indicated. Now, essence of user story. One of the reasons why you write your user story is you've tell your engineers that you want a sign-off feature. Now you're now relating it in the user's perspective. You are telling a story around it so that they really know why they are doing this and what they need to do. Now, when you said you need this receipt icon, you don't need to tell them that as a user, I want to share receipts or I want to send receipts to my beneficiaries or my users so that they can get the proof of funds. So you are just saying that this is what you want to do. Oh. You as a user, you don't care about the future. Your own is you don't know what you call this. It's just like you are saying this from the user's view. So me, I don't know how you want to do it. Oh, I don't know what future you want to call it technically. Oh, internally. Oh, I don't know. But me, oh, this is what I want to do as a user. You see the user as somebody that is not how will I put it now? Just see the user as a neutral person that doesn't understand the product ecosystem. So, but you are looking at it that this is what I want to do. Oh. So it's now you. We need this. It's not a product manager that will now say, for this thing that you want to do, oh, what you need is a feature that is called send receipt feature. It is not your user that will tell you that he or she needs the send receipt feature. The user will tell you that this is what I want to do. So me, I don't know how you want to go about it. I don't know what name you want to call it to, but I want to be able to do this. So it is now you that categorizes it, that classify it, that name it into those features. I don't know if that makes sense, Martha. All right.
Yes, it does. Very clear. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome. All right. So we'll move on. Or do we have another trial from anyone? No, before we move on. Okay, that means no. Okay, so let's always have in mind, bear in mind this formula, the format for our user story. So it will help us when we start writing our product requirement documentations. So another one is why user stories matters. Why do we even need a user story? Can't I just tell my engineers that I need a receipt feature, then they will help me with a receipt feature? Why do I need to start relating it to a user's viewpoint? The first thing is it keeps the team focused on the user. So when your engineers are building this, when your QA are testing this, because for your user stories, your engineers, your QA, everybody, they have access to it. When they are building now, it keeps them focused on the users. They know that you tell them that give me a share receipt feature now. That share receipt feature now, if you do not write the user story to it, they might be thinking of it as something else. They might not really see it as like share receipt to beneficiaries. Or you say okay, give me a login feature or a sign up feature. They will not, if for instance, if you even have two applications that you are working on, a web application and a mobile application, you now say that give me the sign up feature. They might end up giving you admin sign up feature because you did not write the user story for it. But what you need at that point in time is a mobile app user feature. So you now say, okay, as a user, mobile app user, I want to be able to do this. It's different from as an admin now. If you say as an admin, I want to sign up or I want to have a sign up so that I can be able to have access to the feature, they know that this feature is for the admin because you are letting them know the type of users. So it's very important you let them know the type of user, especially when you are building for different users. It is very, very important. It is very, very, because so that they don't go and make that mistake. Users varies. I've worked in organizations where you have different users. There's a lot of roles. So because there are a lot of roles, you don't want to mix up the sign up of role A for role B. You have to indicate that user in the user story. So it's very important that you indicate this. And why is because why it matters is because it keeps your team focused. As an engineer are seeing it, they see that this one's okay, this is for admin, this login is for customer end users, this login is for cashier, this login is for super admin. So they see all of these user roles and are able to do the right thing for it. So it keeps them focused on the users now, not just features, on the user. So it's very important that we note this. Then another one is they prevent building features nobody needs. Yes. So why it matters is they help us to prevent features that are irrelevant. Like I said, you want to do a dark mode feature. When you're now writing your user story, you didn't even realize how less of a importance that feature is to that application or to that product at that point in time, until when you now sat down and wanted to write the user story, you were now looking for value that is hard to the user. That was when you now detected that this thing the value is low. You now decided to leave it, drop off and move on to another feature or put it at the bottom of your product backlog. So it really helps you. It comes handy at that point in time so that you don't build up products, you don't build up features that nobody needs because user story will always give you value. So when you're not writing and you notice that, always note that when you write your user story and you find it difficult to see the value that that product gives, why you want to do that thing, you have to go and think again. You have to just go and think again that this thing does even make sense. You can't get a value. Why are you not building it? It's not worth building. Whatever feature you want to build that does not add value to the customer, that does not add value to the user, is not worth building. Trust me, it's not worth building at all. If you look at it, there is no reason why you want to do that thing. There's no value that you get in return for doing that thing. It's not worth building. Look for other features and build instead. If you don't have features to add again, iterate the one you have, improve it, improve it. So another thing is, they help designers, engineers and business team to stay aligned. Designers need your user story, because you want your UI/UX designer to design a product for you. You now call them on phone and tell them, or you have a meet and say, this is what I want to do. They will end up building another thing for you or designing another thing for you. So your user story now will keep them aligned, because they are also looking at that user story, seeing the value that is giving, seeing what your target audience, they are seeing things from the users viewpoints now. So it's now helping them, it's shaping them to design whatever it is that they are designing, because you related it to a user story. So they will even go, like you see engineer, I say engineers, you see UI/UX designers, they will go and also check competitors applications or product for that particular thing, to look at, oh, see how they do it, and this will give design what's it called, insight, that, oh, okay, we can do it like this, we can do this, okay, design wise this is what will work for this. So but without a user story, they will just be designing vaguely, like they don't know what they are designing. The PM said we should design this thing, and just designing it. But when they are able to read meaning to it, they are able to see it from the user's viewpoint, they are aligned with your own goal. It's not only you that you are now seeing what you want to build as something meaningful now. Your designer is seeing it as meaningful, your engineer is seeing it as meaningful, the business team is also seeing it as meaningful. Now for the engineers, like I said, engineers, it helps them to not just build for building sake, it helps them to relate it to your users. So that's why it's very important that before you ask your engineer to build a new feature, put a user story for them. Let it be relatable to them from the user's viewpoint, so it helps them. It helps them not to just build features for building sake. It helps them to build features that are relevant, features that are useful. They know why they are building it. That's one thing about my engineers. They know the reason why they are building a feature. They're not just building a feature for building sake. They know why this feature has to be. So that point in time, even when they want to use every means to convince you not to do, maybe the particular feature is so technical. But after relating what the user story, the reason behind it, everyone has no choice than to just align that, okay, oh, if that is so, that makes sense, let us do it like this. So it's very important that you carry them along. Like, in fact, you guys should work together with your engineers there. You should be 5 and 6. Me and my engineers, we are 5 and 6 people. We do this together. I do not leave them to just the engineering part of things. I don't leave them to go and do the engineer. You don't need to know what the business side of things is, the product side of things is. No, you have to be engaged from that ideation stage. For everything that you are building, you have to understand what you are building, why you are building it, not just technical. One thing about backend engineers, they really don't like UI. They really don't like seeing the UI. They'll tell you their own is the backend execution, the backend execution, let them write the code. It's front end that is very familiar with the UI. Their own is the UI. They want to see the UI, they design the UI, that's their work. But you see backend, they don't want to even, they'll just tell you, oh, UI, they don't know how it works. But it doesn't work for me, oh, because regardless of what your role is, whether you are front end or you are back end, you have to be familiar with the UI. You have to see what you are building, what you are writing code for. You have to see how it is doing on your on the user side of things. So, and how do I get them along that? Is doing demo, bringing them in on not daily basis though, let's say like weekly basis, bi-weekly, bringing them that, oh, okay, look at this thing that you have executed now. Look at the way it's reacted on the UI. They are able to see this. So it keeps all of them aligned so that when you are asking them to modify, they are not telling you that, shebi you don't know what is happening in the back end. You don't know now. The code base is this. But you've already shown them the UI that this is how it is reacting. But this is what me I want. That way, they are aligned. They are aligned. And the business team as well. The business team also needs to have an insight of the business because they are the one pitching to the customers now. So the business team needs to know how this works. What is the motive behind it? So it helps all of them stay aligned with the product, with the product's goal. So user stories are not just about features. Let's know that. They are about people. So do not think that user stories are just about future. No, user stories are about people, because those features that you are building, who are you building it for? Who is going to use it? Who will interact with it? It's people. So it's about people and not just future. So when you have this at your back of your mind, you end up writing good user stories, and that's why user stories matters, because they are not just about future, they're about the people involved, people that will use that future. So that's why it's very important. Any question before we move on? Okay, so we move on to acceptance criteria. What's acceptance criteria? We may wonder, but the literary term, like I said, accept. What are the accepted, allowed, let me put it that way, allowed scenarios, let me put it that way. Let's go in there. Say acceptance criteria refers to a set of predefined requirements that must be met to mark a user story complete. Now, at the beginning I said they work hand in hand. One work to assist the other. Now, which is acceptance criteria makes a user story complete. And that's what acceptance criteria is trying to say now. So when you hear of acceptance criteria, when you think of acceptance criteria, it is a set of requirements, predefined requirements now, that must be met. Predefined requirements, predefined scenarios, things that must be met to actually mark a user story as complete. As a user, I want to log in so that I can have access to the application. How do I log in as a user? How do I have access to it? What and what should be done? Now, acceptance criteria are also sometimes called the definition of done. That is it. What does your done mean? your own definition of completed. You can also regard acceptance criteria as that, because acceptance criteria determine the scope and requirements that must be executed by your developers. So when you talk about requirements, the scope, so acceptance criteria will tell you that okay, for this one to be this, let's say forget password for instance now, for users to be able to do a reset password, the field has to be, email address should be required, this should be this. So it tells you what and what is needed, so that your developers can tell you that okay, this is what I've done, this is your, okay, you can just, let's say there's a user story now, a user story without acceptance criteria. Just give them a user story, I want to log in, no problem, shebi you want to log in, they'll help you to, they'll give you login feature now. You write requirement for them, you did not put acceptance criteria, they say that okay, log in, no problem, that's the simplest thing, it can be done. They'll give you your login feature. Now you cannot hold them responsible for anything if anything goes wrong, because you did not give them acceptance criteria. So login now means, as a user I want to log in so I can have access to the platform, no wahala, you want to have access to the platform, then you now go and log in, abi you go and sign up as a user, you put an invalid email, you just put Elizabeth at build up dot family, you know it's an invalid email o, you put it and you are able to sign up and log into the platform, nothing goes wrong, you are able to access, you put that same email address at build up dot family, and you are still able to log in with that same email that you have signed up with. You cannot hold your, you cannot go and tell your engineer that hey, why was I able to log in with a and sign up with a wrong email address. You can't hold them because you did not put acceptance criteria. Now if you now put acceptance criteria will let you know that at sign up only valid emails are allowed. Acceptance criteria will let you know that okay, once users put their email address, there should be a two-factor authentication, a code should be sent to their email for verification, but you did not indicate all of this. But your engineers just give you your sign up now, shebi you wan sign up and login feature, they will give you, there's no acceptance criteria. So acceptance criteria will let you know okay, as you are setting up your password, you just put your password, you can just put your name as password for instance, it will go, nothing will stop it from going. But acceptance criteria now, if you put your acceptance criteria that minimum character should be 8, and it should it should consist of one numeric, one uppercase, one lowercase, all of those things are criterias. But if you do not put it, that means your user can come and just put their name as password, they can even put space, they will just be pressing the space bar, then your password is set, no restriction, nothing, because you do not put your acceptance criteria, and you cannot hold them responsible for this because they work based on what you gave them. So that's why they say acceptance criteria are considered as definition of your done. What does done means to you? What does logging into the platform mean? What does signing up to the platform means? So let's go. In simple terms, acceptance criteria are the conditions that must be met for the user stories to be considered complete. So if you want your user stories to be say yes, I'm done, acceptance criteria are things that will give you those things. So you cannot say done when you've not met your acceptance criteria. Yes, you can say you are able to log in, but is it accepting valid emails? Is the password how do we put this thing now? Password requirements, is it looking into that? The name field, is it accepting just alphabet? You go to some, what's it called, products name, you can even put character, it will accept it because you do not put acceptance criteria. You can enter anything as name, it will accept it. Age, you can even put next year in age, it will accept it because there's no acceptance criteria. So your acceptance criteria is what will now tell you that age should a minimum of this. You cannot be born yesterday and want to use this platform. Your platform is for how many years old? Let's say 14 years and above. Because you say your platform is for 14 years and above, then there should be an acceptance criteria that anything lesser than this 14, don't accept it. So when you go to platforms that you now see you can put next year, next 10 years as your date of birth, know that something is wrong. There's no acceptance criteria for such platform. So acceptance criteria are things that will help you checkmate what your engineers are giving so that they can give you a true definition of your user story. To them, you did not tell them now, so you did not put it there. So maybe that means to them, they will not even see it as something bad. If your date of birth is accepting today and next year for the platform, they are technical persons now. They can just tell you that maybe they think a customer can open for the user in advance. You cannot hold them because you did not put acceptance criteria. So these are things that you put to checkmate your particular feature and your definition of done. So now, acceptance criteria means what should happen, what should not happen when the story is done. Now what should happen be like, for instance, accept alphabet for name, that's what should happen. For password, accept alphanumeric, that's what should happen. What should not happen, date of birth should not be lesser than the age limit set. Date of birth cannot be future date. User cannot sign up with same email address twice. What should not happen again can be um password cannot be empty. So that's definition of what should not happen. When the story is done now, that is when all of these things I've listed are effective, are implemented, and I can still log into the platform, and I can still sign up on the platform using all of these things that have been stated. That's the definition of, that's just the simple definition of acceptance criteria. Any question? But are we following?
No. Yes, ma.
Okay, okay, that's good to hear. All right, we'll move on. So the same way we have why User stories matters. Acceptance criteria too do matter. And first thing first is it helps you to remove ambiguity when you are building your future, so that anything does not just go like anything goes. Put this one needs to go, put that one needs to go, nothing goes. So it helps you to remove that. It helps you to remove that. Another one is it helps developers to know what to build. Yeah, very important. So that they know. In fact, they need this thing more so that they know what to build. They are they are building, having it in mind that this name field that they are working on will only accept alphabet. Age limit cannot be more than this. So they are building based on that. They are tightening loose ends. Edge cases, they are trying to handle it. So it helps them to know what they are building. So they are not just building based on Elizabeth said we should build this. No. They are building what they have read about, what they have also known and perceived about that user through your acceptance criteria. It also helps testers to know what to test. Excuse me. What do I mean by it? Assist testers to test. Like I said, your user stories are not limited to your engineer or your business team. Everybody, every stakeholders must have your user story and acceptance criteria. Excuse me. Now, when your QA has your user stories and acceptance now, it helps them to build what to know what to test. You send name field should only accept alphabet under sign up. When your testers are testing, they will now go and test name field. They will do this their negative testing. They will now intentionally put number to test if it will really work. So if it works, they are able to put numbers, then there is a bug. You say your password should be a minimum of 8 characters. Because you have put it in your acceptance criteria, your QA will go and test. There are test cases now. It's going to be based on all of those your acceptance criteria. So they now go and put 6 characters. If 6 character goes, know that there is a bug. It does not accept alphabet. You put alphabet, it goes, there is a bug. So it helps your QA to really know what they are testing, aside they are testing that are users able to sign up. Now, they are not only able to sign up, all the criterias are met. So it shapes what your testers are testing. So it's really an helpful tool for testers when it comes to testing the product. Because for every of your acceptance criteria, they will test for it and they will test against it. For all of your should, they will test for it. Your should not, they will still test against it that okay, this thing should not, let me put it, maybe to accept. So it helps your testers now. Another one is it helps PMs to know when to accept work. Now, this one is for product managers. Your job as a product manager is not to be testing your products. That's why you have QA. QA will test. But mind you are the CEO of your product. You are still supposed to test your product. For everything that your engineer work on, you have to validate it. So it is only when you test, that's when you are not able to validate that yes, I accept this sign up that you have done, because I've been able to test and see that, oh, okay, I told you not to accept alphabet, you did not. I told you to do this, it's working, it's working like that. So it helps you to know when the work is truly done, to accept the work. And it also helps managers to track progress. Now your acceptance criteria, now because you have your acceptance criteria listed, for instance you have 10. Now it helps your managers to be able to say, oh, okay, out of this, 5 has been done out of your acceptance criteria. Oh, is remaining 5. So it easily helps them to track that progress. Any question based on this?
No, ma.
All right, we move on. Now, what makes a good acceptance criteria? The first one is clarity and conciseness. Your acceptance criteria has to be clear. You cannot tell engineers to build a sign-up page, and your acceptance criteria is if this is this, and you should partially do this. Like, you have to be clear. Let a lay person be able to understand what you are putting. You should be concise. This is what you are trying to say. Your acceptance criteria one is saying this, your two is saying this. So it has to be clear and concise. And how do you make it clear and concise? By using simple words and make it practical. Yeah, let me put it that way. You should be concise. Let them know what you are trying to do. And it is not only enough. What may I do anyways? Even after I've made this thing clear and concise, it is not still enough for me. I believe in meetings so much. So I'll still have a meeting with them where we will go through that documentation that I have written. We will all go through it again. Then I would have shared it with them, like giving them time to go through it too. Then I will now still have a meeting with them, like, okay, any questions? Even before question, we'll now walk through the document from A to Z, like, okay, this one is this. So if there's any need for any question, now I'm explaining it to them again, after they must have understood it in their own way. Me, I'm explaining it to them so that they understand that this is what I'm trying to say. So this way, you don't want to go and build A and engineers to go and give you B, because it can be devastating. Imagine you want to build an what's it called, a future A, and engineers were building another thing. It's time consuming, resources wastage, which is not ideal for the organization. So it's very important that you make it clear and concise. Another one is testability. For every of your acceptance criteria, always be able to ensure that you are able to test it. If you have an acceptance criteria and the acceptance criteria cannot be tested, that means you have not written an acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria should be tested. E should be testable, let me put it that way. You cannot say password should be at least 8 character. You should be able to test it. Name field should accept only name, only alphabet and not numbers or characters. You should be able to test it. Email must be valid. You should be able to test with a valid mail and test against an invalid email. Users cannot sign up 2 times with the same email. You should be able to test this out. So that's one thing about acceptance criteria should be testable. Then the outcome, there should always be outcome. If this is what you are trying to do. If all of your acceptance criteria are met, what outcome do you want? Which is what is reflecting in your user story. Then there is measurability. You should be able to measure, you should be able to measure your work, all your acceptance criteria. You should be able to measure it that okay, for login, uh people or users under the age of 14 cannot sign up to the platform. So you should be able to measure it that okay, people that are on this platform, are they 14 or are they more? So you put that restriction. So acceptance criteria is usually measurable. Then the last one here is independence. Now your acceptance criteria should be independent of the other. Password should accept alphanumeric. It's independent. Your acceptance criteria is independent. That's one. Verification should be done for email. That's two. Only alphanumeric should be allowed for name. So it should be an independent entity on its own. So that if it's an independent entity, the QA can test it's measurable and it's testable and also concise and straight to the point. Any question before we move on? Okay. Now the same way we have our user story format, we also have our acceptance criteria format. Alright. So first thing first, like I said, the acceptance criteria helps your user stories to be complete. So whenever you see acceptance criteria, always note that there is a user story. There is usually a user story around that particular thing. So acceptance criteria will help you to user story can stand alone. Acceptance acceptance criteria cannot stand alone because there has to be a user story around it. So now here is a user story. As a user, I want to reset my password so I can have access to my account. Now look at, we use this example earlier, the user story example. Look at the acceptance criteria now. User clicks on forget password. So this is showing you that for that what's it called, for that particular feature of password reset, there has to be a reset password or forget password CTA. There has to be forget password CTA. So this shows you that. Now is user receives a reset link via email. So users should be able to get a reset link via email. So you cannot say you are resetting password and there is no email being generated. I mean, there is no reset password link being generated. So as you're working on your reset password, you would be able to know that okay, once user click on this reset forget password, it should trigger an email. So you are telling your engineer that okay for every click of forget password, let there be an email trigger. Alright. Users can create a new password. So it's not enough that forget password is clicking, but users should also be able to create a new password. Then users can log in with the new password. Yeah, so if you change your password, you also let the engineers know that when users change their password, they should be able to log in with that new password so that the system does not keep recording or taking a look at the old password. So you need to indicate, you do not assume. One thing about follow management is you don't assume that your engineers know it. You have to list them out. So you have to put it in writing, document all of this. So because it's documented, it's in your acceptance criteria, they can always fall back. It's easier for them to forget what you tell them now than forget something that has a documentation. So always put it like, oh, this is all my acceptance criteria. So for this acceptance criteria, for this same user story, can somebody please give us another acceptance criteria to add to this for the same user story? Anyone? Are we following? Are you still with me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I'm with you, ma.
Yeah, yes, we can hear.
Okay. So an example of acceptance criteria using that same user story. Any trial? No one wants to try?
Let me try.
Okay, my turn.
Okay, so for the same user story, I want to reset my password so that I can access my account. So for my acceptance criteria, I will say you click on reset password and you answer few um, user answers pet a question on your pet's name, and user gets a notification after that has been answered. Then user creates a new password. User gives the old password, recreates a new password, and user can log in with the new password.
Wait, but are you saying the same thing that is on the presentation?
Sorry?
I said, are you reading out the same thing on the presentation? And that's something different.
Uh, yeah, I added a little thing. Okay, so instead of getting a link via mail, you answer few questions. Let's say, assuming at your first sign up, you were asked for your pet name, that will be asked. Then you get a notification. What else again? What did I say again? I think I'm lost now and confused.
Okay. Thank you, Martha. Thanks for thanks for attempting. Yeah, so yeah, rather than sending that email, users can answer a few questions before they proceed. Yeah, so that's an acceptance criteria to send them that okay, instead of this, okay, user should be able to do this. So yeah, it makes sense basically. Any other person, we can also use the chat box. Okay, I'll take that as one. So let's I have another example here. The example here is a fintech app. The user story is as a user, I want to transfer money to another bank so that I can pay people easily. The acceptance criteria here is user can enter recipient's bank details, users can enter transfer amount, user uses transfer confirmation to send, user receives success or failure message, user balance and update after transfer. So this is a flow for sending money, a fintech app for sending money. So we can see that the first acceptance criteria is you should be able to transfer the recipient's bank details, enter the recipient bank details. So if you're sending money from Mr. A to Mr. B, you should be able to enter the recipient's bank details. And what does it mean if you are able to enter the recipient's bank details? It means your application has to be integrated with all of those banks that you would be doing, so that when you enter their details it's able to validate. There should be what we call account validation. So you should be able to validate that yeah, this person is this person is this. So it's not enough that you now say okay, I want to be able to send money. What about validation? So validation comes in when you've integrated with those beneficiaries bank, and at that point, just like we see when we use our mobile banking app, once you press the number it brings the bank and it brings the banks and the name of the person that you're trying to send the money to. So yeah, so that's one good example. Then also the user should be able to enter transfer amount, not like it will now default it. So you should be able to use your hand to enter your transfer amount. Then another one is user can transfer confirmation screen. So this has to do with the read receipt uh that Martha talked about. This is the confirmation screen where users can put that okay transaction has been, this is to confirm your transaction, so you can also be able to see this. Then user receive success or failure message. So it's also important that when users are trying, they get the success or the response, they get the success or the failure message depending. Then user balance update after Users balance updates. Users balance updates after transfer. So another thing is the reconciliation part of things. So dis acceptance criteria is saying that if Elizabeth have 5,000 naira in her account and she sends 1,005 to Soriseju, now the 35 should update immediately that payment has gone through. So you're not leaving it like, okay, let me exit the app and come back later to see my updates, or let me start dragging or refreshing my page to be able to see my update. So this one is telling you that, okay, oh, once I send 1 5 out of my money, the remaining 3K should update immediately. So like that's your divination. This is showing that this is the divination of having that transfer money feature on the application. So for it to be done, for you to consider this user story as completed, like done, all of these criteria need to be in place. Any question?
No more.
All right, thank you. We move on. So here are common mistakes in acceptance criteria that we should avoid and not make. So is writing tax instead of users need. So let's always know that there is a big difference between tax and the user story. Tax are what you want the engineers to work on, things to be done. So let's not mix it with what the user want to do. Task can be, okay, you want to uh migrate from the database, from this database to another. So user story should be, okay, you want to do this so that, so you should not confuse both. Then forgetting this, so that in our user story, common mistake is most people dey write their user stories and forget the value. So you just say, as a user I want to log into the platform, the remaining so that I will be able to do this, you remove it. So it's not ideal. So don't make that mistake as product managers, to always uh remove that so that feature, because it's the only one that gives you value and helps you to understand what your next course of action will be. Another one is making your acceptance criteria too vague. Just like, let me say, uh when you make it too vague, like as a user I want to be able to do this so that and after I do this, like you, it does not even make sense. It's just like there, meaningless. So always avoid to be in that kind of situation. Then also mixing multiple features in one story. Let's also avoid that fact that you now say, as a user I want to be able to send money so that my customers can get the money and I can view my balance and send them receipts. With this sentence that I have made now, I've mentioned 3 features in one user story. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work that way. So let's avoid doing that. One story, one user story for one feature. If you need three features, then you should know that you're writing three user stories. So let's not say, I want to manage my note, or I want to manage my data. Let me put five feature in one post and be able to see if that's covered. So yeah, that's a common mistake that we should not make as product managers and aspiring product managers. So yeah, any question so far based on the user story and acceptance criteria? But do you understand what user stories and acceptance criteria are now? Let me know if you understand. Okay, Martha says she understood it. Okay, thank you, Martha. Chika too. Thank you, Chika. So that's Martha and Chika. No, okay, Tori said she, no, Chika said I understand. So she said I've not heard from you if you understood what user story and acceptance criteria is. I did Amala as well. I did Amala and Tori, did you understand? Let me know if there's any area that is not clear so that we can go back to it. Okay.
Yes, ma, I understand, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay. That makes sense. All right. So yeah, we'll go to our feedback section as always. Let me know what stood out for you today. What's your take home when it comes to user stories and acceptance criteria? This is like a foundation for us because it will help us when we now start writing our product requirement documentation. So this will definitely help us. So let me know what you've learned so far in today's section. So who is going first?
So I learned about acceptance criteria and how it works with user stories. And then I also learned how to build acceptance criteria like step by step, and the how to ensure that it is simple and easy for the developers to understand, and also the importance of having criteria for your product. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so moving on. What's taking the next one for this?
Ma?
Yeah, what we learned today.
Okay, ma. I learned about user stories and the acceptance criteria, and that there's a difference between the customer and the user. A user is there's a difference between a customer and a user. And I'll just use the example you gave us that stood out to me that made me understand. A child and a parent. So the product is Pampers. So the parent is the mother is the one that will buy the Pampers for the child, but she's not the one that will eventually use it. But the child will be the one that will eventually use the Pampers. So yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right, thank you very much, Tracy, for that. Thank you. So move on to Martha, Martha and Chika.
Okay, my take home, I learned that user stories must be brief and simple, and that it must focus on the value it provides to the end users. Then I also learned that acceptance criteria, they must they must meet the users mark to ensure that they are complete. It must meet the users requirements, and that it shouldn't be ambiguous when you are drawing up your acceptance criteria. It should be as simple as possible, and it should be clear and concise. Thank you.
I
That's all from my end, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much, Martha, for that. Chika.
Yes, I learned that user story is seeing from the customer's endpoint what exactly they want to be able to do. Like an example is they want to be able to type on forget password in case they forget their password and be able to still access their account. And the acceptance feature is just like a boundary. It's not a crime if you don't put it there, but it's just like a boundary to know which and which to be accepted on your platform or the product. But that's what I understand from my end.
All right, thank you very much, Chika. Thank you, that makes sense. Okay, so yeah, that's it for us. For others that are not on the call, they'll go back to the recording. So now we're going to have our assignment as usual, and our assignment is going to be we writing. Since it's still during the week, let's write just one user stories and at least five acceptance criteria. One user story, at least five acceptance criteria. Do we get it?
Okay, ma, does it have to be for a fintech app or any app?
Any app at all. Any app at
Okay.
all. So let's try the user stories and the acceptance criteria for it. That's going to be our assignments. Let's do it on our Google Google Doc. Let's do it on our Google Doc. And for this slide, let me share it now. Before I forget, so I'll share this. Then I would upload the video as well. Okay. So I'll drop the link here. So that's for the slide. Okay. All right. So let's not forget the assignment. Then have I shared the last video recording? And please, is the LMS up now?
I
We
don't
can't hear
think so.
Okay, you've not
I
shared.
doubt my I tried logging in last week, but it wasn't connecting.
Oh, okay, that's fine. No problem. I'll drop the recording as usual then. Before the close of the day. Yeah, I'll drop it. So have we attempted our assignment, the holiday assignment? For those of us that have not submitted, I remember Martha. Okay, it's just Martha on this call that have not submitted. Yeah, Martha, are you trying to attempt it?
Yes, ma, I'm working on it. On the first one, that was why I asked that question on product on future prioritization and backlogs because it was on it and I became a bit confused.
Mm. Oh, okay, okay. I got it. That's fine.
But I've done the one you gave us over the weekend.
Oh, okay. That's fine. No problem at all. Mm, okay.
Please, I'm unable to copy the link and paste it on WhatsApp for the note. Link for the note.
Yes, please. I'm not logged on to WhatsApp. Somebody else put it on WhatsApp. I'm also trying to look out for the.
Okay.
So I want to put. I've shared the last. I think I've shared the last slide. That's the last lesson slide. So I'll just add the recordings in it now. Mm, okay. Okay, it's failed to upload. Okay, no problem. I'll get the two recordings across before the close of the day today so that we can also revisit it. Okay, Tiffany, thanks. You shared it on the group. Yeah, so that's the slide for today. So, yeah. So our assignment remains that we're going back to write a user story, and we are writing at least is at least to that's a minimum of five acceptance criteria. This can be any product at all. So just write a minimum of five acceptance criteria for that product. Then in the next class, we would be looking at it, and we would also be taking on a new topic. And yeah, I've not forgotten our last assignment. How many of us have attempted it? The one on metrics and analysis. Anyone? None of us attempted the last assignment.
I have.
Okay, you've not shared your slide with me. I said slide. You've not shared your documents with me.
Should I share with you or the group chat?
Yeah, you can. The last assignment, right? And you can share with me. Share with
Yes,
me. No,
ma'am.
just share with me. So when we are treating, we can now put it on the group.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
share with me. That works. Okay. All right. So thanks everyone for attending to this class. The next class, the time would be communicated to us later. And in our next class, yeah, we'll be taking another topic. We're able to exhaust this topic today, user stories and acceptance criteria. It's not what's it called, complex, but it will help us with our product requirement documentation, which possibly we might be having in our next section. So yeah, for those of us that have not still attempted those assignments, let's attempt it. We'll be looking at it. Those of us that we've looked at already know where we need to improve. So yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at it. So yeah, we'll see you soon. I'll see you in our next class. So thanks everyone for joining, and do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye everyone.
Thank you, ma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, ma, can you help us drop the assignment on the group?
Assignment. Okay, okay, okay.
Thank you, ma.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Chika.